I'm trying kind of an experiment. I continue to look for ways to make long form video feel more sustainable for me. And so far, I've just been recording in my house, and it makes it feel like I never have the opportunity to do it, mainly because I get most of my ideas where I'm like out in the park. And so today I'm in the park, and there's like nowhere good to record because there's like all these kids on the left side of me, and then on the right side of me there's a busy street. And so I'm sorry if it's too loud right here, and then there's like planes above. Part of me misses living in the forest where it was nice and quiet all the time, and I think that I will go live in the forest eventually. But this video is about sort of traditional femininity and current feminism, and how to navigate the world as a woman that doesn't feel completely exhausting. There was a podcast released sometime last week of the podcast You're Wrong About. And in that podcast, the episode was about the trad wife and the rise of the trad wife. I love Sarah Marshall. She talks a lot about feminist issues, and this episode was about why we're fascinated with trad wives and why there's sort of a rise of the trad wife. And it has me thinking about all of the dilemmas that I run into being a woman. The trad wife phenomenon is this sense of trying to be a housewife, or trying to be a quote-unquote traditional woman with traditional gender roles. And I didn't grow up with any of that stuff. I came to homesteading in more of a hippie way. I don't know if any of my YouTube followers kind of know of my history of homesteading, but I lived on a homestead for about a year, and it was really kind of a shit show. I can talk about more of that if you become interested in knowing that part of me. My TikTok followers know sort of all about that story, and I talk about it often. But I was reflecting on the homestead life and how hard it was, and how much it kind of wasn't what it's supposed to be on Instagram. You know, I have one of these friends that is really interested in cottagecore stuff, and I kind of tell her, like, go live the cottagecore life. You may discover that it's mostly an Instagram phenomenon. I'm like obsessed if my light is right. I'm just like in this ivy, watch spiders come and crawl on my face. But I have come to this idea that like I need to live a quieter life. I need to live a slower life. And I think that's what a lot of us want. And the trad wife trope sort of comes in anytime, there's a question of traditional femininity being threatened. And I think that we go through these cycles of idealizing, women in the workplace, and then going back to idealizing slow life, farm life. And I think like the current view of farm life is sort of that it's for everybody now, that everybody should go and live on the farm. I have so many millennial friends that just want to go and live on farms. And not to say that trad wife is exactly living on a farm. I think sometimes it's, the woman in the kitchen as well. In the 50s, it was like the woman in the space age kitchen of the future. And isn't it funny now that it is the woman in the wooden kitchen, in the bare bones 1920s kitchen, not a space age kitchen, but a kitchen where it's probably harder to do everything, where you have to do everything the long way and the absolute most ingredients based from scratch kind of a way. And that effort, taking more effort and more time to do things is like the privilege of today, to have time to do things. And I aspire to have time to do things. I actually have a lot of time to do things now because I just kind of chose to live poor. And that's one of the other things that I've been reflecting on, is like, there are really two tracks that you can go on as a woman. You can decide to sort of be a career woman and burn yourself out. And I've talked to women about, like, do you have a job that doesn't burn you out? Because I feel like every full-time job I've ever had burns me out. Is that like just the nature of our work culture in this country? I have really felt that I couldn't find something that wouldn't burn me out, that actually would work for me 40 hours a week. And it just has me feeling like maybe it's wrong to expect people to work 40 hours a week. Maybe that's the thing. And I talk pretty regularly about the fact that women have an energy cycle, and our energy cycle is monthly. There is 1 week per month that we were generally not very productive, that we are more in rest mode. And the fact that we have to override our own energy system in order to interact with this economy is painful and exhausting and really hard on our bodies. And the fact that we expect ourselves to be able to do that is a sign that women are trying to meld themselves to some male idea of what the economy is. And so there's like these two tracks, and they're both like bad choices. So the first track, as I just said, is the girl boss, burn yourself out track. And the other track is sort of the track of the housewife, to partner with a man, which already has a lot of questions about it. Is the man going to help? Is the man going to be, an abuser? There's all kinds of trickiness that comes with partnering with a man in a patriarchal society. And to let the man be the producer of all of the money or most of the money. And it's funny, I spent my life doing the latter, or the former, the girl boss, stress mode, work yourself to the bone thing. And I think one of the reasons that I actually chose that track is I was raised by a woman who had had a very abusive father. And I think that she knew what it was to depend on a man who wanted to beat you. And I think that she really wanted to teach her daughters to take care of themselves, because it really put her in a bad situation to be dependent on someone who was really abusive. And I don't remember making a conscious choice to be like a girl boss, but I sort of knew that that's what I was expected to do, and expected to go to college. And unfortunately, like, traditional structures and systems do not work well for me. My brain is very different. I'm very artistic. I don't work well with authority. I want everyone to treat me like an equal rather than a subordinate. And so I enter a traditional system and I'm like, oh, this just doesn't work at all for me. Hierarchical structures are not for me. Where was I? So I entered girl bossdom, and I never considered that maybe I should just be taken care of by a man, or maybe I should have babies, or become a wife, do that whole thing. And now that I have kind of gotten done with my girl bossdom, or like have realized I am never going to be a girl boss, I'm not interested in that. I'm like, okay, what other options are there for me? I can look for a job that is not burning out, could submit myself to some traditional structures and try to find something that doesn't burn me out, and that's possible. Um, I could maintain poverty. So right now, I make very little money and I pay very little money in rent, and I don't have a car, and I live a very low rent lifestyle, and I make most of my money off of art, mainly through words, through talking, through writing. And so there is that. There is the life of the starving artist, that is an independent life. And then there is like some sort of, let a man help you sort of life. And I suppose, if you're a queer person, it could be let a partner help you, let someone who's not a man help you, which I feel like that's the best option, honestly. Let a non-binary person help you, let a woman help you. I heard something by a TikTok creator that said, after having kids and raising them in this society, my suggestion to you would be to have kids with someone who wants to have kids rather than just have kids with your romantic partner. Have kids with, form a connection, or a connection with a group of people that just want to have kids, and want to raise kids. That's a lot better than having it with your romantic partner. So I bet you those are going on too. But coming back to the idea that, if I don't want to burn myself out, and I don't want to live a lifestyle that sort of pursues money and is willing to give all of its time to money, and the pursuit of money, what options do I have? And it's funny, I've been dating this man for 6 or 7 months now, who's amazing and really supports me emotionally, and happens to have a stable capitalism job, and like any other millennial, is drowning in student loans, and is not okay, but is tremendously resilient and doesn't get burned out by capitalism, and doesn't get burned out by his job, and actually quite likes his job. And there's kind of this temptation to be taken care of and to settle into that relationship and become comfortable. And I know women who have done this, and who have lived through the experience of divorce and come out the other side and said, I wish that I didn't give away my entire earning potential to a man, that I didn't give that time away, because when we divorced, it made me unable to take care of myself in our economy. And because of our individualistic culture, men tend to not see that aspect of a relationship. It's just like, hey, we were in a relationship, you decided not to work, that's not my fault, that's not my problem. I may have taken care of you our entire marriage and left you economically destitute now because you're not able to earn for yourself because you have not built a career, but that's not my problem. And what I would say to that is that absolutely is your problem. If you have decided to marry a woman and make most of the money, and it needs to be more expressly stated, before the marriage contract comes into effect, that that's what's happening. And if you're a woman who is deciding not to work and deciding to put yourself into that situation, it would be a good idea to have it written up somewhere that if you don't work, that you will be taken care of by that man if he decides to divorce. And what's interesting is usually the woman decides to divorce, because marriage is generally a bad deal for women, for a whole lot of reasons. It's interesting. My partner wants to start this farm for men for like mental health support, and it's like a dream of his, and he's like, yeah, it would be great to do this for men because men don't come with a lot of baggage. Men aren't trying to connect with their children. Men are, they don't have a lot of like anchors connected to them. And I was like, that's so interesting that because of the way our society works, like men are not supposed to be caregivers for children, even though they're like 50% of the input for children. And it goes the same thing when you go to like women's meetings for 12 step. It's like women's meetings are the ones that have the children. You'd never expect to see a bunch of children at a men's meeting, and that's tremendously unequal. And it's kind of funny, you can hear the threads through what I'm talking about, that there's like this half of it where you know, men need to be taking more initiative and more mental load, and take part in 50% of the inputs. And then there's this other part of it where there are like these realities to the genders. There's a reality to having a monthly cycle versus a daily cycle. There's a reality to having more muscle mass. There's a reality to tending towards being cold versus tending towards being hot. There are some biological realities there that I think we would do better to recognize in our society. And I think what we've opted to do in feminism is to erase those differences, and I don't think that it's at all helpful. I don't know what I will do for the future. Like, I'm really curious to see if I just opt to live this like starving artist sort of lifestyle and not let a man take care of me. When my partner wants to take care of me, I'm just like, I'm a feminist, you can't take care of me, and like I want to fight that help. And at the same time, it's very human to want help, to accept help, to be helped, to have interdependence, to have community. And I'm looking for a solution that sort of combines all of these understandings for me. And I'm looking for other women who've solved these too, who have found ways to navigate the society that is not bad for their health. And I don't know many men with chronic health issues. I know a lot of women with chronic health, and when I say chronic health, I mean specifically autoimmune. I think the rampant autoimmune disease in women has a lot to do with our overfunctioning against our body system, against our natural energy levels. And that's not to say too that women can't provide 50% of the effort. I think that they absolutely can, but I think that the structures that we've built in our economy kind of go against the inclination of a woman, which is intuitive and flowing, and can be emotional, incredibly vulnerable. I had to deal with the court system this morning, and once again, I'm just like, this is incredibly patriarchal and rigid and hierarchical, not understanding of emotional needs, variability in life situation, and these structures need to change. That's why I call myself more and more a revolutionary. Like, the more that I talk about this stuff, I realize how revolutionary I am. But the trad wife, I'm sure it's not going away. I'm sure as long as we have religion around to re-emphasize traditional values, that trad wife stuff will always be around. And people who are doing trad wife stuff will always be around. I hope that I can be an agent for change in women's lives, to live better lives, to live more supportive lives, to live the lives that they deserve, and by extension, for men to live those lives too. I think that men are suffering as much as women are, and it's difficult for women to acknowledge those struggles because of the privilege that men live by and don't see. It's very frustrating for us to say, don't you see your privilege? And no, they don't, in the same way that white people don't see their privilege, because it's something that you're just steeped in. It's very hard to see the contrast of it. But we all have a responsibility to learn and grow and study this stuff, and a lot of people don't, and a lot of people are listening to what they're told. So for one, if you're listening to me, I hope that you don't listen to what you're told, and that you're inspired by this to take care of yourself and not burn yourself out, and let life adjust to what you need.